VE3LPR.
Yeah, doing fine. I don't know if it would be interesting to have another recording of yourself there, but I just fired that up. It's going. VE3LPR, WA3VJB. I was in the other room. That's where the desktop is that does the recording off the Kiwi SDR. Did I understand that there's a special DX100 event this weekend, or are you firing up in conjunction with some kind of event? Go ahead.
No special event. I guess maybe since we last talked, I located a DX100 that was not in great shape, and I wound up doing a marathon session to find out. I think, yeah, we might have talked because you were the one, perhaps, that suggested that this was the one with the black paint job, that to just maybe try it out and enjoy it for a while. So I thought it was going to take a long time, and it did take a long time, but I've discovered in the last few restorations, I also did a Hammerland HQ120 on receive, which I'm really, really enjoying. A little bit of it. Well, the aesthetic of it, it's an incredibly sensitive receiver, and it works really well. Anyway, get into these durations, I kind of have, I don't know what maybe it's a disorder or something, but I just keep going until it's all completely working, and it's probably not healthy because then I sacrifice sleep. So months ago when I did the Viking Ranger restoration, I took my time over a period of a month or so, and quite enjoyed the process. But I did the restoration on the DX100 and enjoyed parts of the process. But I think it's going to be a while before I do any more after this. But anyway, I just, it seems that everything will come together on the weekend, and I just thought, well, I'll get it all set for firing up, and I had to make some audio switch changes so that I could quickly and easily switch microphone and audio lines into the DX100 and switch between the Ranger. So that's what I was testing, just to be sure that my wiring... It's the silly mistakes that I tend to make, not the complicated ones. It's the ones that, you know, where you need to plug something into a power receptacle or hook up a LED in forward bias to make it light. Those kinds of things are the mistakes I make, Paul. Back to you, WA3VJB from VE3LPR.
Okay, I got you. VE3LPR, WA3VJB. Yeah, I have, over the years, found it's easier to try and get a single audio chain to work with multiple transmitters. And I was a little bit stymied because this Super Senior initially wanted a different level of audio than the Collins 300G. Consequently, if I would set up the audio properly for the 300G, I could not leave it alone and just switch it over to the Super Senior. Well, finally I figured out that one of the problems was the power drift. When you first fire up the Super Senior, it tends to want to warm up and settle in, and its initial power level is different than the subsequent power level, and the level of audio that you deliver to the transmitter, especially if you put it right on the hairy edge like I do, will vary as it changes power level. I think it increases in power. It since has been fixed. There's actually a mod that Index Labs proprietor Bruce Franklin is administering to the rigs at this point that causes the power to now be stable or within 5 or 10 watts. And I've been able to set the audio level to the same standard as the Collins 300G. So I fire up and go between the rigs a lot easier now. So I can understand, your interest in doing so with the Ranger and the DX100. Yes, I remember the conversation. I think you were going to strip down the chassis in the DX100 because it was kind of gnarly looking, and you were going to paint it with some either metallic paint or a powder coating it of some kind. Oh, no, actually it was one of those a metallic paint that you had in mind, either a zinc or a... I don't have my notes in front of me here, but I now remember suggesting the exhaust manifold paint, which has a lot of aluminum in it, and suggesting that you look into that to see if it might work well, too. But, I also said, why don't you get the rig and enjoy it a while before you go doing all that? So you must have taken it to heart. I go through this in another hobby that I'm interested in, which is that of old cars. I have a Datsun convertible from 1969 of a body style that first came out in 1961, beating the MGB to market. And I'm on a Facebook page that caters to the Datsun Fair Lady, as it's known. And you get a lot of people with a lot of enthusiasm who acquire a new project, and they want to take it down to the frame as soon as they get it. And it's their first Datsun of this type, or of any, and they don't know what they're getting into. They don't even know if the car will fit them. And I don't mean physically, I just mean their driving style and the whole experience. And they're going to, by gosh, they're going to take that whole thing apart and restore it from start to finish and then have themselves a car. It's like, no. Experienced people will tell you it's better to get the car roadworthy and drive it a while and let yourself bond with the automobile. And I think there's an analogy to that, Bruce, with old transmitters or old bikes of any description, really, to bond with a functional radio and then go for the aesthetics and the cosmetics, So that's where I was coming from on that. There's a guy in Arizona, W7WRX, who recently has acquired a set of audio processing gear of high reputation, known as the CRL. And I just took a little video of a like-to-line module that's powered off a 9-volt battery, mic level to 600 ohms balanced broadcast level. And I wanted to post that video to him right as you were giving a call there. So I wanted to check in and say hello. But he, too, is in the midst of a project involving a 20V2 Collins broadcast transmitter that I've actually walked down 40 meters from Arizona to Maryland. So his is already paying off. But he's one of those kind of guys like yourself who is a stickler for detail and has continued to refine his station to the nth degree. And you and he'd get along great. VE3LPR, WA3VJB. Hope the signal's holding up.
Okay, Paul. Yeah, very good. I'll just do a quick slide. There we go. The end of the last minute or so of your transmission, it was fantastic. Came up during was just into the noise there, but I still managed to get everything. So it seems like the signal has come up again. So the extra power, I guess it's just going to be 3 or 4 dB higher level, but it might make the difference. I was going to use the nickel paint, and I spent more time cleaning up the chassis, and I just thought, that's going to be a thing in itself too, because I have to really make sure that none of the paint gets onto the variable capacitors. So there's, some fancy masking that was going to be required. And then I thought again, getting back to our conversation and the things you suggested is just, let me get the thing working first and see what it does, and then take it from there. And the outside of the rig looks quite nice. That DX100 already sounds much better than the Ranger does. And I haven't really done too many audio modifications, just a few capacitor value changes in the audio amp, and then some screen grid things on the final. But other than that, nothing fancy. But the audio already sounds pretty good. So I'm looking forward to this, attaching it to this signal chain, so I can see what's happening. So. Anyway, and I was just waiting for the signal to come up a little bit higher so I could tune you in on the Hammerland and enjoy slightly better quality. And interestingly enough, the Hammerland seems to it sounds better in the noise than the Collins does, and it might just be a situation with the filter, but when the signals go down into the noise, it's just a lot easier to listen to on the Hammerland, which is again surprising considering this is 1940 technology. I just can't believe it. And I guess maybe the big thing is that the S meter is huge and it looks really cool. Yeah, and okay on the restoration of the cars, and that's the analogy for sure. Just gotta give it a try first. So, but of course, yeah, you already can sense that or know that a little bit about me. I just want to do things properly, but yeah, so I'll find out. But like I said, there's just a few more components to change. I did want to install a relay to be able to turn on the transmitter with the same push-to-talk functionality. So there's just I had to wait for a DigiKey part of the coil relay so that I could power that from the heaters. So I just have to put that in, and a 10-watt, 30 kilo ohm resistor on the screen grid for the finals, and then we'll see what it sounds like. And if it works, then there will be a time when I can connect with you again and do another audio signal comparison, but also those HDR, web SDR, I should say, links that you sent me are going to be very, very useful. So, and maybe the power of the DX100 will help a little bit with that. So I won't keep a transmission too long here. You mentioned you wanted to do some other things. I appreciate your call, and let's just see if the signal is back up again, and hopefully you're not down into the noise. WA3BJB from VE3 Low Power Radio.
It doesn't sound low power to me. Gee, one of the SDR sites I'm listening to you on, you came up to 20 over at one point before retreating back to 10 to 15 over more routinely. And here at home, you're probably 15 over. I can't see the S meter. The ITT McKay is across the room, but you're sounding head and shoulders above just about anything right now. The whole top of the band seems to be open. I was wrong about any kind of broadcast station firing up on 7290, so we could have stayed there, but this does allow some room for a second Tesla up above us if they wish. And I think your labor will pay off, Bruce. There's no doubt about it. I feel the same way about certain projects. Not everything. I think I have a graded response depending on what I'm going to do. One of the aforementioned car projects has never been completed, and I instead spend the time driving the car. And it's a popular way of looking at it. My homebrew transmitter is sitting here disassembled so that I could replace some capacitors in the bias supply. And all it needs is to be reassembled, and I have to repair the screen choke whose spade lug has broken off. And I'll have it back on 10 meters where it was during cycle 23. Not 24, but 23. And, if I have time to play on the radio, I play on the radio instead of getting inside one of them. And, it's one of those things where that's my priority. But I also appreciate something like the Collins 300G, who, with the help of some people who know more than I do, by all means, has given me like 20 years of service beyond its original broadcast life, from 1946 to 1991 or 1992. It was at a station just outside of Washington, D.C., WUST, where in the 1970s or early 1980s, it actually was repaired by a prominent AMer among us, a guy by the name of Kevin. WB4AIO used to be quite active on 75 with us. And when I first saw this transmitter in the projection room of an old movie theater that had been converted into a church revival house, some of the engineering paperwork that was next to the transmitter had Kevin's name on it. Absolutely floored me. I did not know he was associated with the station as a contract engineer or in any other capacity, but it's almost as if the transmitter wound up having good juju surrounding it, to use one of the Haitian terms for just a good aura, And here it is, giving me another 20 years of service on 40 and 75. So that level of detail is something that does pay off, and you can fire it up and enjoy yourself. So yes, I'd be delighted to help you out in some future iteration, some other QSO we've got going here when you're ready to test. I'll put these two together just to show you the before picture and send you a link. I've used 3 different Kiwi SDR sites this afternoon. One of them was in Pennsylvania. The one I'm on right now is in Vermont, and there's a third one in the Maryland area. And I was rotating among them to try to pick the best signal-to-noise ratio on your signal, Bruce. And among them, you'll see where it changes over, but it's more an academic exercise at this point rather than much practical value as you continue to refine things there. So I'll look for you again. I'm glad you were able to make contact here today. Hopefully we're going to have the receiver on. I said to myself, when you said that you were making some tests, it's like, okay, maybe he's got the receiver on. Yeah, sometimes people don't, Anyway, it's a pleasure to talk with you again. I'll look forward to hearing the DX100 in all its glory. You're going to have to find some new phonetics for your calls there. VE3LPR, WA3VJB.
Okay, Paul. Yeah, very good. Yeah, I tuned you in on the Hammerland. Yeah, when you first replied, you were 20 over. Like, there's huge, huge change in conditions. So I'm amazed at, if you're receiving my signal with just, right now it's just about 42 watts of carrier. So that's just surprising to me that's working. So this new relatively unused set of 6146s that are in this DX100, it's giving me about 115 watts of carrier. So that should be interesting. It'll be almost 3 times the power. So we'll see how it goes. But anyway, no, it's an interesting story when you're talking about the getting things going again, and that the old AM transmitter. So it sounds like that rig that you're working on has been a few solar cycles off the air. That's a long time. Yeah, this will be, it'll be worth it in the end. I cannot believe the problems that existed in this DX100. The latest thing was I thought, everything was done, and I was going to do some testing on the bench, and I turned it on, and there was no pilot lights, no filaments, nothing, and I just thought, turned it off. Fortunately, I turned it off within, a few seconds, and something was shorting out the heater lines, and man, those heater wires in the bundles, they started to get pretty hot, because the transformer, 18 gauge wire that's probably a foot or so long, that heater, that transformer is going to be able to make that glow for a few minutes. There was a terminal strip in the BFO compartment, which I had just taken apart a few days before. I didn't see it. There was this big, huge solder blob that was on the bottom of the terminal block that was just barely touching the chassis, and it decided to touch the chassis. So it was an accident waiting to happen. So I guess there's a benefit to barely being able to lift the transmitter and sometimes accidentally having it bang down on the bench, because then it loosens gremlins that could be in the radio. So thankfully I got that, because that could have been a disaster. Just having the thing sitting in standby, then literally a meltdown just from the heaters. So anyway, there's all kinds of stuff. I can't believe the stuff that I saw. So there was some really poor wiring in the high voltage lines and some arcing and stuff. And so anyway, I think I mentioned this before, just like with the Viking Ranger, by the time I'm finished with this restoration, I'm going to know the rig inside out. And I guess, again, that's back to what ham radio used to be, when I keep carrying on with my theme of the roots of ham radio since getting involved in these boat anchors. But this, by the time you finish doing a restoration to this extent and repairing, I mean, the Hamlin receiver, every non-mica capacitor was replaced and half the resistors were replaced. And you got the schematic sitting in front of you and just the hours working on it. So pretty rewarding. So, yeah, Paul, thanks for making the recording. I was not doing that at the time. I just wanted to see that there weren't any ground issues and RF ground loop issues or anything like that in the new setup. And everything looks good. I had to make a couple of new ground straps for the transmitter. So I think we've got a reference and baseline. So, Paul, once again, thank you, and I really look forward to, hopefully in the next few days, of getting some signal reports and audio reports from you on this DX100. I think it will be a little step up from this one, and we'll see how it goes. And the idea behind this is that I can keep the Viking Ranger tuned up and ready to go on 10 meters, and keep and use the DX100 for 40 meters with a little bit more power. Thanks again, Paul. 7-3, and if I don't talk to you, have a great weekend. WA3BJB in Annapolis from VE3LPR in Cambridge.
VE3LPR. WA3VJB, yeah, very good. Well, at some point, the Kiwi node that I'm listening to on recorded a 10 over to 15 over 9 signal, but it sounded closer to 20. Now, I don't know if I had some S unit inflation or what have you, but I have not seen the 20 over 9 reading again like I saw, 10 minutes ago or so. So the band is not that stable, but certainly sounds good when you're even at 10 to 15 over. It's got a nice signal-to-noise ratio indeed. So we'll call this the before picture. I don't know. I think there's a lot of merit in dedicating a rig to a band if you've got the room and the resources. I know I had my T368 was on 160 while the homebrew rig was on 75 years ago. And although the Collins, the 300G, is a tri-bander, or used to be a tri-bander, it takes about 15 minutes to change coils, driver coils and final tank coil taps, to change bands. Consequently, I'm inclined to leave it somewhere, too, on one band or the other. It's now 80 and 40. So, yeah, there's a lot to be said for it, which was part of the reason why I invested in one of these super seniors for frequency agility between 80 and 40 at, quarter kilowatt power level. So it's ready to go. Flip the switch, and there I was able to give you a call. I'll be around this weekend. We're supposed to get a lot of rain, so we're not going to be out in the boat or out with the dogs on a hike. So there'll be some time to play on the radio, and I'll look for you then. Awfully glad to have crossed paths as always. And once again, a good signal there. VE3LPR. I'll be thinking of some phonetics for you by the next time we speak, too. Revise things. WA3VJB. Take care.
Okay, Paul. Very good. I might just take the low power radio and just relative to some other people. But I just switched over to listening to that last transmission on the Hammerland, and holy cow! It's a pleasure. I'm really glad. So, yeah, the restorations in the last 2 weeks have been the DX100 and Hammerland, so I can, have a dedicated transceiver, if you will, transmitter receiver for each band. But I think, to be honest, the way this Hammerland is sounding, I might just use it as a receiver for everything. Obviously, the Collins is a lot more accurate, got crystal calibration and things like that, but holy cow, I might use the Collins for the initial setup of the contact, but once I'm into enjoying a great conversation with someone, I'll switch to the Hammerland. Again, I just can't believe that something that was designed and built in the late 30s and early 40s works and sounds this good. Also, I had to redo the whole audio output section. The transformer was blown out, and wiring mess there. So I don't know how many decades. This rig probably hasn't been used in 30 or 40 years. I don't know. Anyway, just seeing these things. Well, seeing these things come back to life. So, okay, I'll listen to you over the week to do what it's supposed to on the air, and thank you again. Look forward to there'll probably be some times where you could hide. That's a good thing, I suppose. 7-3, Paul, WA3VJB from VE3LPR.
Yeah, take care, Bruce. I've made note here of the big solder blob. It sounds like a science fiction chapter, and hopefully you won't find any more gremlins like that in either rig as you continue to refine things. I'll look for you again. VE3LPR, WA3VJB, 73.
I have never seen solder that large in my life. It was just, I don't know how that was missed, but okay. Have a good night, Paul. VE3LPR is now QRT for dinner.
Okay, Bruce, 7-3. I heard NX3Z give me a call there. Let's see if I can pick him up briefly. WA3VJB, name is Paul.
Carrier going into the amplifier. I might have to cut it back a little. Anyway, I wonder how the signal sounds, and you've got a great, nice sounding signal up here in Baltimore. So back to you, WA3VJB. This is NX3Z.
Yeah, let me come up to where you are, Jim. Hang on a second. I got to retune. We were down on 86. Hang on a sec. There we go. Yeah, DX40 sounded fine. I could hear you off to the side on the RTT McKay, so that shows you how strong your signal is from Phoenix. I thought that was you. I'm learning your calls. I don't know why they aren't sticking, but yeah, we've worked several times. My apologies. And the DX40, I'll give you a better sense of things on the next over as I spool up to 90 here with my little thumb wheel switches on the IT McKay. I don't have a whole lot of time. I gave Bruce a call because he was testing in there, but I'm happy to run across you here as well. You saw the weather forecast and how we're liable to get some rain over the weekend, so hopefully you two will have some time to play on the radio. What'd you do there when you say getting it set up? Did you work on your audio accoutrements of some kind or what have you? I think you could drive it a little harder. You have more signal than you do audio. But other than that, it's nice and clean. Go ahead.
K3UR. Okay, and we got K3UL in there. Well, I'm, hold on a second. Yeah. Okay, all right, thanks. Sorry about that, guys. There was another station breaking in there. Yeah, I'm probably don't have the mic close enough. I hope this is a little better, but something might not be right here. Why don't you guys, why don't you pick up, well, you can't stick around, so I should let you go there, Paul. And maybe I can work the other station if you've got to run. But anyway, I rebuilt the audio section and put a DX60B circuit in it and changed out the coupling caps to .05s to give me a little more bass in the audio. So I think I got it right now, but anyway, I'll be interested to hear what you think. But I think I'm driving it a little. I've got too much carrier, more than I want to go into the amp. So I have to make some adjustments, I think. Anyway, back to you. In the other station I did hear, but I didn't write down the call sign. WA3VJB, this is NX3Z.
Yeah, I'll pick up the other station here for a minute and say hello. K3UL, we worked the other day there with WV3Z, Tony. But I didn't write your name down, or did I? Where is it? No, it's not on here. You're on Williamsport. I got that, I think. K3UL, how copy this afternoon, WA3VJB?
Okay, very good, Paul. WA3VJB, K3UL. Yeah, you're right, Tony. And I'm Bob. So, anyway, by the way, I got a power tube, so we're good to go there. But spent a lot of time on the rig today. I changed out one capacitor that I knew was old paper, and I had ordered another one and got it. Put that in and found a loose, a bad solder joint. The final part of the, coming off of the grid, the plate cap. So got that fixed. Replaced. I now have all new tubes other than the oscillator tube. Just out of principle, I bought a whole set. Put them in there. It seems to be okay. But I still have the intermittent when I'm tuning up. I don't know, even not sure where to look. I think I'm going to look at those capacitors like you suggested. It's going to be the next step. So anyway, everything else good. Right, it's working. You know, you always cross your fingers when you do a bunch of work to a rig and then put it back on the air and you think, all right, well, see what happens. So yeah, I'm hearing you great, and don't feel obligated to stay just because I checked in here, Paul. I just wanted to say hello. WA3VJB, K3UL in the group.
Okay, Bob. Yeah, sorry, it didn't click right away. I have a Post-it note in the garage to tell me to look for the RK4D32. I'm still going to do that. And if the one you just got, I don't know if you've already swapped it in there and you're noticing greater power output or what, but if that proves not to be a good contender, I'll still have this one around. And the 6SJ7, that's the PTO tube. If it's okay and you got enough drive, leave that one alone. There's a little desiccant gel capsule that you can see in the top of the PTO. Those crystals should be blue. If they're still blue, that means the original seal on the PTO has not been breached and the moisture has not gotten in there. So unless you keep the humidity in your house really low, this is not the time of year to go opening up the shell that's over the 6SJ7 or the capsule, which can be rejuvenated by putting it in the oven, and it rejuvenates the crystal desiccant that's there. I left mine alone for years because it was fine, and finally it started losing stability. I'm trying to remember the symptom. I think it was a key up drift. It would chirp on key up, which on AM is not a big deal, but it was enough to note the decline quality of the 6SJ7. And I swapped it, and I rejuvenated the silica, and everything was fine. It's living happily ever after. So, yeah, as the saga continues, Bob, yeah, let me get out of here. Bottom of the hour is when I was supposed to be in the house. I got to set the grill going. We got a couple of steaks to cook tonight. I'll catch you over the weekend. And, yeah, Jim sounded like he's coming back shortly. I'll catch you guys over the time here. NX3Z possibly. Otherwise, Bob, go ahead. K3UL. This is WA3VJB. Out of here.
Okay, very good, Paul. WA3VJB, K3UL with NX3Z. Yeah, the saga continues. I don't know. I'm not sure what the drive should be. I will check. I haven't. I can't talk. I haven't had anything to eat since this morning. That's probably the problem. I've just been fooling around with this radio. Anyway, yeah, I will check to see what the power output is, and I'll drop you a note and go from here. And I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the offer, that's for sure. But anyway, hope to catch you on the weekend. Enjoy the steaks, man. That sounds great. Oh, that sounds wonderful. Enjoy those, and I'll talk to you real soon. And thanks for the encouragement and all the great tips here on the 32V3. WA3VJB. Talk to you later, K3UL.